How's it going, everyone? Nick Mo here, and I'd like to talk to you about a game I've just completed. This is Bound, which is available only on the PS4, and it's been on my list for a while, originally launching in the summer of 2016. However, my procrastination was rewarded, as I was able to play Bound using the PSVR headset, which made a visually stunning game that much more impressive. But Bound really isn't about spectacle. In fact, the trance-like visuals and abstract artwork seen throughout the game are only there to complement a story, one which kept me interested and engaged throughout the experience. Unfortunately, I've seen many complaints about the game's narrative being too open-ended, or that the story was basically non-existent. So, to clear things up, I've decided to take apart Bound and share my theories on the game's story. If you have any interest in playing this title and do not wish to be spoiled, I highly recommend you play the game first and then return to this video when you're done. And with that out of the way, let's get started. We begin with the opening of the game, where we control a pregnant woman walking along a beach. Right from the start, we're given very little information, but here's what we know. Our primary character has been dropped off at this beach for some purpose. Our driver does not join us and leaves her alone with only her journal. So we can assume she's here to either reflect, or to relax, or to do some deep thinking with minimal distractions. Exploring the environment reveals a single house in the distance, and there is no one else at this beach, implying that this is not a public destination. I want to point out these details because many people assume that Bound is trying to be like Journey, which couldn't be much further from the truth. Unlike the universal messages of games like Journey and Abzu, Bound is a very personal game. Bound tells the story of this woman here, seen on the beach, and we learn her story through her memories and through her imagination. As we take a seat on the beach, the real world quickly gives way to an abstract dream world, filled with twisting shapes and colors, a stark contrast from the whites and grays we've just seen on the beach. Once inside this dream, we meet our protagonist, a female character of some kind, who moves a bit like a ballet dancer. We then meet a second important character, her mother, who calls the protagonist Princess, and she lets the princess know that a terrible monster is destroying her kingdom. She tells us to go and stop this monster, and the game begins. As we move through this twisted dream world, our princess animates like a dancer. Every step and every jump has a purpose. She's able to deal with threats by dancing, which becomes the primary interactive component of the game. Whenever trouble arises, we can just dance our way out of the situation. It may sound strange, but I want you to keep that in mind as we move forward. Dancing is the solution. Eventually, we go face to face with the monster mentioned by our mother, and it appears he's touching a chess piece of some kind. As we approach the monster, it reaches for the chess piece and then angrily swipes at our protagonist. Suddenly, everything goes dark, and we find ourselves in a confusing new location. What we are seeing is a memory, specifically the memory of our primary character, the woman on the beach. Notice how there isn't much detail to the walls or to the surrounding area. This is all her mind can remember: a little girl, a little boy, a grown man, and a chessboard. Notice the man's finger on the chess piece. It matches the one we've seen the monster touching, in almost the exact same position. To me, this signals loud and clear that the monster of the kingdom is related in some way to this man, and at this point, that's all we know, that this man and the monster are related in one way or another. As the dream fades away and we snap back to the beach of the real world, our primary character opens up her journal, which confirms the theory that this abstract kingdom we've just seen exists only in her imagination, and she's drawn pictures of this dream world in the pages of her journal. It's not clear how long she's had this journal, but judging by the childlike scribbles in between pages, we can make the assumption that she's had this journal since childhood. As she flips through the pages of her journal, we once again enter the dream world. In total, we meet 3 other characters besides the protagonist: a mother, a monster, and a second larger-than-life character known as the Savior, whose identity is at first a mystery. As we come in contact with the Savior, our protagonist asks for help in saving the kingdom, something the Savior doesn't quite understand. Eventually, a memory is triggered in which we see a boy holding up a paper airplane as a woman tries to stop him. The interesting part of this memory is that the paper airplane the boy is holding looks exactly like the paper airplanes that the savior character uses in the dream world. Not only that, but when these memories are triggered, we see a little girl hiding behind the boy as the boy tries to protect her. It is at this point that we can make our second safe assumption, that the savior of the dream world is in fact this little boy from our protagonist's memories, and that this little boy is likely an older brother or protector of the girl. But who is this little girl that we continue to see in the memories? Well, I believe she is the same woman we find on the beach in the beginning of the game. She is our protagonist at a younger age. For starters, she has the same hair and eye color as our woman on the beach. Not only that, but in the memories we see trophies for dancing, which is our protagonist's main ability in her dream world. It is at this point where we finally have a basic understanding of what Bound actually is. That this dream world was the creation of a little girl who needed an escape from real life. These characters in her private world are reflections of real people, and the problems of the real world manifest themselves in interesting ways in this dream world. For example, we have a painful memory of what appear to be parents arguing in front of two children. In the memory, the adults can be heard screaming, as we see the children cowering in fear. In the memory, the mother character has her pearl necklace destroyed. But back in the dream world, our abstract mother has a similar animation. She destroys her pink beaded necklace. But as we explore, those pearl beads eventually swarm the protagonist and hurt her. And this is a manifestation of a dark memory affecting her dream world, making it difficult for her to escape real life. But as she's always done, through her dancing, she's able to overcome the darkness of the memory, and eventually she moves past it. This is only one example, but it sums up our character's challenge in Bound very nicely. This dream world was an escape for a troubled child, and this world is threatened by the dark memories of her past. By confronting these memories head on, she's able to see past them and move past the tragedy. This theory of mine is supported by what I call ribbon surfing sequences. These are segments filled with uplifting music and beautiful animation, and they only play out after we've conquered a dark memory, like a reward for overcoming a difficult task. But there's something wrong here. Each ribbon surfing sequence ends abruptly as the world begins to shake and crumble. It's as if something is keeping our protagonist from true happiness. Something is distracting her and she can't seem to shake it off. This distraction is a single memory, one we return to time after time, but don't fully understand. And it is here where we discover the true nature of the monster. Over the course of Bound, this memory is blurry and chaotic, but as we continue to come back to this clearly painful memory, eventually the truth is revealed that the monster, or the man in pink, left the little girl and her family behind, that he walked out on them, destroying the family, thereby destroying her kingdom. This dark and difficult memory gives context to the entire game we've just experienced. The mother crying for help from her children, the anger we see in the monster, the realization from the brother or the savior that this kingdom is already destroyed, all depicts a family in turmoil. This dreamlike world was an escape, a coping mechanism created by a scared little girl whose father abandoned her. When the game reaches its climax, we finally confront the monster face to face and ask why. Why did you leave our family? Why did you ruin our kingdom? To which the monster replies a cold, "Because I could." Devastated, our dancing protagonist falls to the ground. Defeated, her dreamlike world is crumbling around her. Faced with this tragic memory in her mind, we snap back to the real world. We discover that the house we've stood outside belongs to an old man, which we can assume to be her father, or the monster of the dream world. She came here to confront this man, perhaps to tell him that she was expecting a child, but upon arriving, she was overcome with emotion. If we take a second look at the very beginning of the game, we can see our protagonist looking at the house with doubt, and when her driver leaves, she sneaks onto the beach rather than walking to the front door. It is here where she relives the painful memories of her childhood, and ultimately finds herself at the front door of her father's home hours after she's arrived. She has a decision to make. She can either confront her father or walk away without ever seeing him, thereby not revealing the existence of his future grandchild. In the end, we are given a choice, and there is no right or wrong answer. Either you confront the monster and hand him the journal, Or you walk away and remove the father from the future and place the journal in the garbage. The fact is, many of the pages were torn and scattered across the beach throughout the game, so the meaning of the book will forever be a secret to our protagonist. Regardless of which you choose, the story concludes with our protagonist moving past the tragic memories of her childhood and moving towards building a family of her own. I understand that Bound is not a game for everyone, but I can't help but applaud the developers for finding such an interesting way to tell a tragic story. It feels incredibly personal, and the metaphor of the dream world makes us feel connected to the tragic memories of our protagonist. We may not be able to dance away from our problems in the real world, but Bound serves as a reminder that there's always a path forward, no matter how difficult the world around us may be. Ooh, how's that for an ending? A little uplifting ending after a bunch of sad stuff. I hope you all enjoyed a deeper look at Bound, and if you enjoyed this video, be sure to check out some of my other story breakdowns from the past year. Stick around and subscribe if you want to see more content like this in the future. Alright, I'm out. I will catch you all in the next video.